And then I'll go ahead, and this is for so Tara is our rookie winner this time, who will get prizes for that. And then the same with Karen. So they're both new and wonderful and have attended every meeting. And then you guys will vote for MVP in our YouTube video comment. Oh, there's Jameson. I thought so. And then this is our wheel spin for best attendance. So, hi, Jameson. Good evening. Oh, you came to work. Look at that red hair. It looks so good. I love it.
Thanks.
Thank you. I've always wanted to go that red, but I can't allow myself to. I want to though. It looks so good, especially with the glasses. Very cool. We are doing the wheel spin now. So the only person I think we're waiting on is Erin. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen right here. Can you guys see it? Yes. Oh, cool. Okay. We'll go ahead and just get this going. Oh, that's so awesome. I need to write that down, Melissa. Okay. Hold on 1 second. Grab my little pen and I can stop my share. Oh, yay. And I'm back with you guys. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay. So we are just waiting on Erin now. Okay. So we can get started. Um, so We'll close this out or I'll be watching that all night. Okay. First, I just want to introduce the book and say it's the Christmas Murder Game from Alexandra Benedict, and then just show it. So anybody who's watching on YouTube will know what to look for. And also give our little trigger warnings about grief, death, suicide, murder. It's all there. Just so that if anybody watches, they can click off if they need to. And I want to thank Emily for picking this incredibly fascinating whirlwind of a book. I experienced every emotion possible. So thank you so much for choosing that. That was awesome and nominating that. And then I am going to tell you guys what our next book is. It is called The Women Could Fly by Megan Gidding. And it looks like this. I haven't gotten it yet in the mail. I did want to tell you guys I did mistype in when we would be starting the book. I haven't decided, and I'm really hoping you guys can help me with the poll. I'll be putting that in. So the voting will be the 22nd, the 29th, or the 5th. And then whichever day gets the most votes, that's what we'll go with. But I hadn't asked, so it's just like putting a random date in there just so that we could have something to go. So I think we can start with favorite quotes from this section and start with Tiff.
Hey, I only highlighted sentences that I thought were weird, so I don't actually have any quotes for this section.
Really? Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
these are just from this section, like all these little, I don't know, this book spoke to me a lot, but so
I think
you,
I think I just got like I got really sucked into it, and like sometimes when I get really like into what I'm reading, I just don't even think about like highlighting quotes. So I there's the only things I have in here are just like weird wordings of
there
sentences.
were a lot of weird verbiage throughout the entire book, which I think makes her a brilliant writer. Did you have a favorite part?
I I really okay. I love Isabel. I had my doubts about her, but I was like, I knew you were going to pull through. So I was really happy for that ending. So yeah,
Yeah, that was my favorite part too.
yeah,
I cried just a little bit because I was pulling
yeah.
for them the whole time. How about you, Tara? Did you have any favorite quotes or any favorite parts of this last section?
Um, so I didn't highlight too many, but I highlighted one when Lily was talking to Rupert's body, in the after he had died, and she was talking about how she loved him, And I liked where she said, I love how everything is the best for you, the best sunset you've ever seen, the best walk you've ever had until the next one. I bet if heaven exists, you're saying it's the best afterlife ever.
No, make
So,
me cry.
yeah, I did like that.
I
She was
love that
talking.
too. The right before that, she was one of my favorite quotes that she said, she understands why Gray wanted to go to the chapel to talk to him, but that if God could hear Gray, then Ronnie could hear her. And so she was
Yeah.
just, and you're going to say it there. It's just always so emotional. That's, yeah, really, really good quote. How about you, Tara? Did you have one?
So I liked when um Lily says like that she wants to keep the house and it says ghosts need somewhere to walk even if they are in her own head. There must be some good to come out of this house. So
Yeah,
I really liked that one.
I did too. I did too. That was one of the ones that pulled to me too. That's why I try to pick so many, so in case I pick a duplicate. Stephanie, I do see that you're trying to fix your problem, so we'll go on to Udi.
I have a couple. Well, this one stuck with me the most because I work in healthcare and I noticed it like a trend. It was since mom died, uh she used how trauma doesn't pay attention to the calendar. Death comes at Christmas as much, if not more, as any other time of the year. But for someone to take life during the supposed festive season requires peculiar cruelty. And that like hit with me because that's so true. Like I noticed it in healthcare. The holidays come around and it was just like way more death than anything, and it sucked.
It does. It does.
And
Especially,
it's just like it doesn't wait.
nope,
And that resonated with me.
it doesn't. And I swear this time of year makes it seem every death seem bigger. I don't know. The holidays are so the older I get, yeah, totally hit me in the feels.
Yeah. And then the second one was the one where she was like, well, that's what she has to give the space for little Bean. She has to give her space to make her own shape. And I was just like, oh my God, that is so sweet.
That's so sweet. I know. I love that. How about you, Stephanie? Are you okay to share now?
Yeah, sorry, I was having some technical
Mhm.
difficulties there. I didn't really pick any quotes from this week, but I do agree with what Udi said about the bean and her shape. But I do have one from the last time since I wasn't here last week. But I said you pay for it in other ways, but it means you can slip through the gaps like wind on the walls, like ghost in a house, hearing everything, saying nothing until the one time it'll scare people the most.
Yep. Yep. Sure enough, that is a big one from this. There are so many from this book. It is just absolutely insane to me how much it hit me in the feels. It was hard for me to finish. So, yeah, that one right there. How about you, Melody?
I really didn't have any quotes from this section. You know, was it Tiff saying like they just highlighted things that seemed weird? I actually couldn't do the game, like the anagram game. I read about it before I started. I was like, oh, that sounds like fun. And then when I got to the end of the first chapter, I realized I had no idea what I had read. I was just looking for the words. So I just tried to like absorb the story and not really pay attention to individual sentences.
Yeah,
I did like Liliana and Castle calling each other their home.
yeah. I love that too. I love that too. Um, yeah, I could make a beautiful playlist for this book, but because there's a song that talks about someone being home to you, but it is absolutely a wonderful quote. I wanted to play along because I'm really good at the acronyms and all the different little poems and things like that. And I would catch them from time to time, but I get so immersed in all the grief and murder, and I just was like, it's really hard. So, good evening, Robin.
Ah,
How
hello.
are you?
Sorry.
You're
Hi.
okay. Do you want me to circle back to you in a moment for your favorite quote?
Yeah, give me a second.
Sure, absolutely. Melissa, how about you?
I had two actually that really stuck out. So I had Keep Singing and Dark Days Will Pass and Summer Will Always Come. I really like that one. And then I had Be Fabulous, Do Not Slumber, and Mediocrity.
Yeah. hmm I had both of them. um, Jameson?
I did have that last one about mediocrity. I wouldn't have remembered it because I was listening to it. And the other thing I liked, and I'm not going to remember because it's audiobooks, but my non-binary heart was happy when they talked about David Bowie showing the world different incarnations of himself.
I love that
I, I
too.
loved that, and that's probably why I like David Bowie so much. But I thought it was cool that it was in the book.
I was really hoping that you would catch that and that you would get here, because I really wanted to ask, like, did you pick up on that whole part of it and how much like LGBTQA plus this book was? Like, it was like all throughout this family, and it just, I don't know, it just gave me good feels. So yeah, absolutely. I was wondering. Emily, how about you?
I didn't have anything specific. I too listened to it, so I think it's a little bit harder being both auditory and visual for me. Sometimes I'll remember that I liked it and then I'll hear it again and go, oh yeah, I like that one. So everybody, oh, hold on, let me close my door. My house is a construction zone right now. We decided, right before the holidays to paint my living room.
No
So
worries at all.
drywall and everything. It's been awesome. So yeah, so a lot of the ones that everybody has been saying are kind of the same themes and quotes that really kind of stuck out to me. I think all the music references and different like art medium references
Yeah.
are the ones that kind of stuck out the most to me.
The family was very talented. Like everybody had, like whether it was art or music or writing or whatever, they all were so special. And it's just sad that it was so messed up. But there was a couple. So there was a symbolism, and probably only picked up on it because it's my favorite color. But yellow. Um, so she says Isabel's eyes are golden. She talks about there was let me find it really quickly. There were yellow pieces on the vanity of Liliana's. And she even talked about her dress. She had sewn 1,000 pieces of yellow baubles on her dress for when it was supposed to be like New Year's. And I don't know if you guys know or not, but Van Gogh ate yellow paint to make himself happy. And I've always suffered with like really bad mental health issues. And I think that's the reason why I like yellow so much. So I saw it like throughout the book, and I thought that was really, really cool. And then my absolute favorite part was learning about Liliana and why am I forgetting her name? Mrs. Castle. So those were about her like living out this vision that she had, even though it was so hard and so dangerous, but they were home for each other. I loved that. How about you, Robin? Are you ready? Do you have any special moment?
Yes. So, so the only quote that I wrote down was where they were talking about the games, and she just said there's always something sinister behind a game when she says that there's cracks in the wall behind the pinball machine. And I was like, ooh, what a big metaphor.
Huge metaphor. There were a lot at the end.
Oh, there were so many.
Oh, there are. Like I just pinpointed so many of them. I feel like the writing got more and more beautiful, or maybe we just got more and more attached to the characters as we went on.
Yeah. I also noticed a lot of yellow things in there. Yellow is also my favorite color. And then there were two. So this is actually, I think this is before chapter 26, but I'm just going to throw it out there. Sorry, he wants to be vocal tonight.
That's totally fine.
because I was late last week, and so I didn't get to say. But there's a part when they're in the library and Sarah is throwing the books and she says, "Don't you think we should be more careful?" She bends to pick up some of the books, smoothing their spines, trying to resist the urge to kiss them better. And I was like, oh, I feel like we can all appreciate that. Like,
Yes.
no, be nice to the books.
Yes, absolutely. There was a comment about how she's walking away from the house, and she says that she's just going to leave the curtains open so like the
Yes.
sun can come in and like all the little nicks and crannies and bruises of the house can be seen. I think that's like really fitting to like how much detail was put into every word
Yes.
the writer. It was just absolutely phenomenal for me.
Yeah. And then there was one other thing. So when you were saying about like there's so much like LGBTQ plus in this, there was like one part, and I don't think I've ever had this like put down in words. So it's again, it's back. It's in chapter 17, but where she talks about being bi and about how she like late at night the answers to like when someone comments or threatens violence in the street when she's holding hands with or kissing a woman, or when she's with a man and assumed to be straight, leaving her privilege and safer yet erased. I was like, this is so how I've always felt. Like you feel like you're not fully a part of like the LGBT side of things, but then like I'm very straight presenting, and especially like I'm married, I have kids, and so like then you just feel like, oh well, I don't really count because I'm living in this privileged like straight presenting life. And I just was like, I don't think I've ever had these sentiments like that were in my own brain put down in paper, and it just made me love this author so much.
Oh, I just am mesmerized with like you're right, biphobia is so real and it's so isolating. I know where you're coming from, Robin. I came out as queer and then I married a man and I was married to him for 5 years and I got completely isolated from the community. So I know what that's like. I try so hard not to do that. And I know a lot of for whatever reason right now, my non-binary friends like Jameson or my trans friends are having a lot of isolation right now. And it's sad. We only have each other. Like, why are we not making our community stronger? Why are we pushing people out for being different? That's the complete opposite of what we're supposed to be doing, you know? No, I'm so glad to know that about you. It's so great to see your face.
Thank you.
So
He's all over the place tonight, so I'm just going to warn you that I may be in and out, but I'll be here. I just might be in or off camera.
That's okay for everyone. Totally.
Okay.
It's fine. So we will start with Emily again. And my first question is, what do you think about Tom being the killer? A lot of us had suspicion because he seemed so sweet. And that's usually a big thing for me anyway. Anybody who's overly nice, I start to think, I don't know. So I know he liked him a lot and found him very endearing. And we had to mention that maybe Lily had DID last meeting, and I'm wondering if maybe he does or he did. So I want to hear your thoughts, Emily, because he went back and forth from like really sinister to childlike.
Yeah. So with Tom, I love his character. I still do. Like it's so well written and he's got all of these weird twists. The fact that he's a therapist, I think was a really good choice by the author because it is misleading to the reader. Because you see him as, oh, he's just trying to be helpful. But all these things that he is pointing out in everybody else,
Right.
he is also, knee deep in a lot of that. So him being the killer, I actually wasn't that surprised. I think last meeting I kind of was like, I think Tom's involved.
Yeah.
So I kind of once we started this section, I was like, yeah, I think there's something going on there, and I was pretty sure that Sarah was bumping uglies with either her brother or Tom. So finding it was Tom was not a surprise. Especially since Sarah was like, cousins, it's fine. Um, but yeah, him being the murderer just didn't surprise me. I figured he was probably working with somebody. I knew Sarah was involved somehow. Um, I just felt bad for Gray.
Yeah. Yeah. I
So yeah,
understand. I was disappointed because I had gotten attached to pieces of him, especially like his childlike wonder and stuff. But my wife said when I told her, she was like, the only way you can tell the difference between mental patients and psychiatrists and therapists, I mean, she's been both, is who holds the key. Basically, like everybody there is absolutely certifiably crazy, and you wouldn't be in this field if you weren't. So it was like, huh, I guess I probably should have had more suspicion, but I didn't, because he
yeah.
was just so like cuddly and endearing, I wanted him
I
to
think
be good.
his coldness and his detached kind of attitude towards the end was what was surprising. That he fakes it so well, caring about Lily
I
and
don't
her
know if it was
unborn
fake.
child.
Yeah, I don't know if it was fake. I wonder if
I
he
don't
had
know.
part because his parents died very young, and I just wonder if he had parts too because it was
Right, but he
so
knew. He
yeah.
knew about her mom and said nothing. So I think that there's a bit of coldness, sociopathic, whether it is a direct result of his own childhood trauma or not.
Right.
Um, oh, that's a good point, Yodi. Oh, that's a good point. Her comment, I think he was trying to replace Sarah with Lily. That's a good point. That is a
Oh
good
yeah.
thought process, though. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Jameson, were you shocked? Or were you kind of like, no, I know a few of us are like, okay, the good guy probably is it, but like when you found out, were you like, oh my?
No. He was my pick. Like everything else was too obvious. I was a little surprised about Sarah just because I felt like they wanted us to think that it was her. But I think he manipulated her. Like I don't think he was in love with her. I think like him being a therapist, he took everything and all of her insecurities and all of her mental issues and manipulated her into doing what
Hmm.
she did. I feel sorry for her. I don't feel sorry for him. So that's where I landed, I guess.
Yes, me too. Me too, completely. Um, like I said last week, I would rather sit with somebody who was mean and cruel all the time and honest than somebody who was sweet and cuddly and fake. So with her, I'm not mad about it for some reason. Like, but with him, it hurts worse because he was like a wolf in sheep's clothing. So yeah, I totally felt that. How about you, Karen? Did you feel a shock or were you like, oh, expected this?
Um, I did think that suspect that Tom had something to do with it.
Hmm.
Um, but I was sad for like Lily because she was very close to Tom and to Ronnie, right? Growing up. So I was sad for her to lose that. She didn't have any relationships with her family. Um, so Sarah, I was shocked. I was kind of shocked that she was involved with Tom. I was kind of like a little thrown off by that. Um, but the book shows like how bad Tom was at the end because then he shoots Sarah and I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
um, so and so yeah, that was a little spin off of me that I didn't guess Sarah was part of it. I just thought, I hate to say it, I just thought she was a nasty person.
Yes,
But
me too.
but I kind of understood her background of always being in the shadow of Lily and um so I could kind of understand how she acted towards Lily.
It's easier to empathize with her
Yeah.
somehow. Yeah. I agree.
Yeah.
Another quote that Lily had said to Ronnie as he was dying, well, as he was dead, was, "Me and Tom will tell Bean about you so much that it'll be like you're still here. It'll be like your presence is still here." And that was another one that just, I don't know. I know what that's like, and it's just very emotional book. Really, really hard to read in places, but so good. And like Emily said, so many red herrings. Sarah was a total shock for me. I was like, "What? That's okay. We're gonna ride with it." So, yeah, absolutely. How about you, Melissa? Did you expect Tom, or did you, you know, have any feelings about it?
I didn't think Tom was going to be with the murders. I knew he was manipulating, I thought solely for the keys and getting the house, especially since it was Ronnie that died and they seemed to have a close relationship. So I was very surprised that he was part of the murders, but not the manipulation pieces. Um, I was surprised about him and Sarah being together, but I think he's really good at manipulating people and probably played on her need to be like first to be chosen.
He was a mastermind.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
mean, just absolutely brilliant in the way that he made you. It wasn't until the middle of the book, the middle section, I even somewhat suspected him. Good evening, Erin. Are you here? Uh-oh. I think I get to keep losing her. Put her back there. Okay, we'll keep going. Melody, how about you?
Tom didn't really surprise me at all. I suspected him like long ago. Sarah, a little bit was surprising. Tom, I think, was a total sociopath, though. I mean, I don't think he necessarily had deep feelings for anyone, not even his brother.
Oh,
Um, I think those were just, those are the feelings that he's supposed to have. So that's the what he put forward. Um, and Sarah, it her coldness throughout the book kind of was a contradiction at the end whenever she snapped. Like I found that a little odd and a little jarring, just because she was able to control it so well the rest of the time. And then, when they went in that nursery and she gets on that rocking horse and it's just all downhill from there.
yeah, no. I mean, it was really obvious. But I think that happens with anybody when you go return home to like your childhood place. That juxtaposition between the present and the past starts to blur.
Yeah.
And I thought like you could see that childlike wonder in each one of them, but in her and Tom especially, it was really there. You didn't see it as much with Lily, which was strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. Hi, Erin. Welcome. It's so good to see you. We've already talked about our favorite quotes. Did you have any you'd like to share?
No, not this time. I listened to it all on audio and I just finished it like in my little break between my first half of my shift and then, the hours that I picked up this afternoon. So I didn't get any quotes this
It's
time.
hard when you listen to it on audibly. I always have to get back to the actual book and pull quotes. That's the only way I can. The other
Yep.
thing that we are talking about right now was, were you shocked that Tom was the killer?
No, not really. I felt kind of suspicious of Tom ever since the first meeting. I mean, the first meeting I was like, oh, I like him because he's Ronnie's brother and they're both like these happy-go-lucky guys. And then I felt like he was just being a little bit too like good to be true. So no, I wasn't really shocked. I kind of expected it.
We kind of all feel that way. How do you feel about Sarah's involvement? Do you feel like she was manipulated, or do you feel like that was something that was going to be something she would do anyway?
Um, I feel like maybe it was something that I don't necessarily think that she would have gone to the extent that Tom did by like killing all of these people, but I do feel like she wanted the house and she want like even if Tom wasn't in the picture, she would have still wanted the house and like played dirty to get it. But I don't think that she would have killed anybody.
No, no, I don't think so either. And I think losing Gray just absolutely destroyed her, like it was said in the chat. And then Melissa won best attendance, just so you know. But that'll all be in the Facebook post. How about you, Udi? How did you feel when you were like, we were realizing who was involved in the killing?
I was like, I knew it. I was like, I
Uh,
called it. My husband's sitting right next to me. He's all, what?
I had
I was
an
like, I
I
had
was
a
prepared.
feeling
Yeah.
he was like too good to be true. He was all up in her grill, and it just like, and then when Sarah came in, I was like, okay, they're working together. That makes sense. And then I was like, he has to be the mastermind because his dad, I feel like he knew what his dad was doing, and I think maybe his dad was grooming him to possibly be the next heir of the house before he died.
Yeah.
And so I think that those narcissistic tendencies were passed on to him. And then he was misled all this information and he just went down the rabbit hole
Yeah.
and included Sarah in on his plan. And she included, of course, Bray, because it's their brother. They do everything together.
This is true.
But I,
Do you
yeah,
think she tried to protect him though, like keep a little bubble around him, or do you think she let him in on like everything?
I think she let him in on everything. I don't think she kept anything from him. And then when it got to be too much, he wanted to be the good guy. And I think that that's
Yeah,
what got
I
him.
hear
Yeah.
that. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. How about you, Robin? Might be busy.
So no, I'm good. I can never get like my thing to unmute. Um yes, so I had suspicions that it was Tom because like Aaron said, he seemed too good to be true, but I got really mad when it was him. And like when he flipped the script and was like just turned into like really cold, because I hate when people seem too good to be true and then they are, because I think that's just my ultimate like optimist. Like I want to see good in people and I'm like, oh, this guy's so perfect and he's great and he really cares about Lily and he's so sweet, and then of course he's the villain. And so I was like, I actually threw my book at that point. And so
I'm not
I was,
shocked.
yeah, I was like, oh, for no, like
Yeah.
threw it across the room. Uh,
I
so,
love that. I love that. I think I told you once I'm gonna break your little heart because I'm such a pessimist and you're
I
such
know.
an optimist. But I think we balance each other well in this retrospect when it comes to books. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, I was a little hurt that it was him because I had grown fond of him.
Yeah. But then when you find out like what happened a generation before, you're like, okay, well, that kind of makes sense, because if you had that, and then especially like, I think for his parents to be taken from him, like like it was, then I think you're like, okay, well, yeah, they're just all not great people. So
It makes
yeah.
sense. Yeah. I mean, when you think about what they all went through, and I think it went back even further. And you know that generational trauma just trickles down the bloodline, no matter
Yeah.
if you traumatize people or not. So it wasn't shocking, but it still would I just would have rather it all been Sarah because I hated her from the beginning. But it's
Same.
always the nicest, sweetest person, always.
Yeah. And then, well, and then honestly, like that whole chapter about like where everything flips in the nursery, I had to read it like 3 times because I was like, what is happening? Like, I don't understand like what is going on. So I would say like that chapter was not, it was not my favorite way of doing it. Like out of the whole book, I like loved so much of the writing, the way that she weaves in all these um like especially like when Lily is talking, she's weaving in all this stuff like about like putting sewing into all kinds of things, and like I was like, she is an amazing writer. And then I got to that chapter and I was like, did she have a stroke? Like what happens? Like
I was there with you. Like, what?
okay.
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah. So I was saying to Emily, I had to put the book down. I had to walk away
Yeah.
a couple of times. It was really like, okay, this is starting to blow my mind too much. I've got to move away from it. It would hit me in the feels so hard.
Yeah.
But I think it was meant to do that to us. I think this book was meant to evoke emotion. I think that was the purpose of it. And I was going to ask you guys another question soon, so that we can bond. Our last meeting, I was going to post it so you guys could think about it, but it is such a difficult question. that we're just going to do it on the fly. Stephanie, how about you? Did you, I mean, I know you were feeling Tom, like thinking that maybe he might be a bad guy.
Yeah, I really wasn't that shocked, but I was hoping like Robin, I try to see the best in people, but I knew there was something screwy with him. I wasn't shocked about Sarah. I knew she was involved somehow but then I also was thinking that's just too obvious. But the
Mhm.
gray thing got me, but I guess it makes sense though because him and Sarah were really close, and she kind of manipulated him into it. But I don't think he was supposed to die either. And I was just really, really shocked that Lily got attacked and we didn't find out till the end who saved her. I don't know. It just blew my mind.
Right?
It
Right.
did.
I thought that I would have thought we would have found out that Isabel or Mrs. Castle were there to like help her at that point, but we didn't. I was blown away at the
Yeah.
end. Like, I didn't know they were right on top of her with her getting hurt. That was such a big part of it for me. But yeah, like her ankle and they strangled her.
Yeah, I was also thrown off by the fact that Sarah was banging her cousin.
Well, I mean, this was so, by the time I got to that part, I was like, this is so much like
Yeah.
Flowers in the Attic. I was expecting some type of incest at some point, but yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's unfortunate that that was the least shocking thing of the book for me. That shows you how demented it is. How about you, Tara?
I was not shocked. Um, I think from the last meeting, I was suspecting Tom. And as a mental health therapist, I think there's something wrong with him. Um, and you mentioned earlier maybe him having DID. I don't think that he does. I think, like everyone else has said, he's like a sociopath, even
Yeah.
though that's not actually a diagnosis. But I think he just wanted what he wanted, and it didn't matter who got hurt in the process.
That's very interesting. I think that you're onto something with that because they do mimic emotion. And so maybe that was his real self, the cruelty, and then the other part was like him just mimicking what he was supposed to feel. That's interesting. And Jameson, are you telling me that cousins over in England? That's like a thing?
I just don't think it's as uncommon there as it is here,
Okay.
especially among people who have money.
Oh, did this family remind you a little bit of like the royalty, like the brothers, Harry and like Princess Diana? It's like it was all. It reminds me of that a little bit of overlay of like that family. Like are all England people like that? Like it's icky, a lot of drama. That's interesting that you say that though. I did not. The royal family, yes, Tiff, you're going there. Uh-huh, yeah. Okay, Tiff, I want to know your thoughts. What did you think about Tom? Were you shocked or anything?
I wasn't shocked about Tom. I kind of like from the beginning, the way that he handled when Philippa died, and then like just throughout the whole book, I was like, man, if he's a therapist, he's a really crappy one. Like I was like, he does not handle any of these situations well. He doesn't do any type of anything that I would associate with somebody that's supposed to be a therapist.
Right.
So that was kind of when I started. I was like, something's not right here.
Well, I felt like his coping mechanisms when he was were poor. But now looking back, they were premeditated. They were faked emotions. You know what I mean? Like I think he studied psychology just so that he could learn how to behave.
Yeah, and like he just did things like she would like share things with him and she'd be like, "Yeah, don't say anything." And he'd be like, "Yeah." And then the next day he's like, "Hey, guess what Lily told me?"
Yes,
Oh.
yes. Oh, it's just mind blowing. So we're going to start with you. And what I wanted to talk about was it's a two-parter. So the first part is about Lily, and the insurmountable grief that she has in this house and how she's going to have to continue to build something new there. Do you think that's possible? And if you were in Lily's shoes, this is the second part, could you do it? Or would it haunt you?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I don't know. Like for me, it's like, okay, yeah, a big piece of the trauma that she has is like she always thought that her mom, like they always said that her mom committed suicide and that she was one of the reasons. So she like dealt with that her whole life. So that I think was a big piece for her to kind of turn the corner. However, then she had like six people die in the span of like 12 days that were close to her. So I don't know. I feel like that would be really, really tough to be able. I don't know that I wouldn't be able to stay at that house. I would probably sell it or do something with it.
Yeah, yeah. I was really curious what people's take on this is going to be. It's like she got re-traumatized, and if we know anything about the brain, then at some point she's going to go back, possibly to the trauma of childhood, and just it's all going to be so much for her, and it's going to be in her face all the time. But maybe with a baby, who knows? Tara, I would love to hear your thoughts with your education on therapy and the way the brain works. Do you think that it's possible, or do you think it will just be a constant reminder and like pull her down?
You asked the question again. I'm sorry.
Sure, absolutely. So basically, it's just about Lily and the way that she dealt with the grief of everyone from her past, and then during this book, and getting the house. Everything kind of is around this house, all this death. She gets it, and she's going to plan on rebuilding her life there. Would you be able to do that as the second part of it? So, like, how do you feel about Lily? Do you think it's possible for her to do it? Or in the other way, would you do that? Would you choose to do that as well, or would you sell it?
So I think that her finding out like what actually happened and that it wasn't her mom killed herself, it wasn't her fault, like all of the things that she had thought all along, I think that makes the house less of a traumatic place for her, even though all those new deaths occurred. Um, I think she probably is looking at it as she has like reclaimed some of her life because she now knows what actually happened. And honestly, like, I don't know that I would have played the game or wanted the house at all. So I don't know that I could stay there. But I think if I had nowhere else to go, or like how she was living in that very small place, maybe I would. But right off like the top of my head, I probably wouldn't.
Yeah. Yeah, I told you guys from the very beginning of this book, she has the quote where she just wants to pull the covers over her head with her little box of chocolates and get on with the holiday. And I would have done the same. I would have never gone back to that house. This is too much. But I do feel like you said, like her finding out about her mom was healing, and that was her purpose of going. So, in a way, but I just don't know if I could stay after watching everybody else. I don't know. Stephanie, what are your thoughts? As far as Lily, do you think that she can do it? And then, could you?
So I think that now that she knows what really happened with her mom, I think she probably can work through it, but she's probably going to need some therapy. And I don't think I would be able to keep the house, to be honest, because that would just remind me too much of everything. And I would think about all the deaths. But like Tara was saying, maybe if I didn't have any other options, then I would stay
Yeah.
and try to just move on.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Tiff, you don't think you would have won the game?
No, I would have been like sitting there. They would have been reading the clues, and I'd have been like, I don't know. I got nothing.
Oh my gosh. I think I would have loved the game. I think I would have loved to play the game. I think Emily would have won the game. I do think some of us here could play and win, but I don't wouldn't have been worth it for me. But yeah, Robin, how about you? Would you, with the way that you experience grief and throwing the book when you found out who the bad guy, would you be able to? I mean, like every corner, every nook and cranny of that house has had somebody's blood or been killed. Could you, if you were Lily or yourself?
So I think like what Tara was saying about like she went back there to find out what happened to her mom, and I think with all of the deaths, like yes, it was very traumatic, but she also got closure on every single one of them. She found out what happened with her mom. She found out, why she was killed. She found out what happened to Liliana.
Yeah.
And then like each of the people who died after that, like she was, like she found out, like she knew what exactly happened. And so I think because of that, that now if it was me, I would take that as now I need to honor these people, and maybe like like start pursuing the sewing and the couture, and make this house a happy home. And like I think she said something about like with like Rachel and Holly, how like they'd never been close, but then like they said something about like spending more time together.
Yeah.
And like raising this new generation of the family differently, and like taking, is it Samuel, the who's
Yeah.
now an orphan, like taking him in. And so I think just like, and like the fact that she's also found this connection with Isabel, that she clearly has always had a crush on her or loved her, or now she's found out that Isabel also said, this person that I have always loved. And so I think that
quote.
Yes. And so I think if it was me, I would feel like it was kind of my duty to make this house into something that is not just about trauma and grief, but about like to make it better.
Oh, Robin, I just adore you. I adore you. So I inherited my grandparents' house when I was 30, and I started living here, and then slowly and I had trauma here. I had trauma my whole childhood, and they took care of me in and out of foster care. Anyway, as everyone died in my family, and now everybody is gone, every day it gets harder and harder to live here. But I do it for the reason that you're saying, because I want to honor their memory and make it a happy home. And, it is very hard, but it is possible. It can be done. And I love that about you. How about you, Udi?
I agree. So she did have a lot of trauma, but it is all concluded. I think that she would be able to live there and grow her family there, and maybe her and Isabel just turn the place into everything. I love that she's going to bring her own creations in instead of doing the historical stuff. I love that she's finally going to branch out and make a name for herself.
I love that.
And so, yeah, I think that she's really going to do something with that place.
I hope so.
As for me, I would have never won. No way in hell. But I feel like I would like to do the same and turn it in, because can you imagine trying to sell that fucking place after all those deaths? Bro, you'd have to be like, you won't make any money. You'd be like, how many fucking people died in that place? Like 6, 8?
Oh no, there's crazy cult people like Jameson and Aaron and I who would all go in with our flashlights and our Scooby-Doo equipment. Like, we're hunting the ghost. We're gonna find the ghost. Here we go. Like, I can totally see it. So
But yeah,
you
try
may
selling
have
that. And I
that.
don't know.
Yeah.
That's great. But yeah, no, I would probably want to change it into something. That's what I plan on doing with like my parents' property and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
I'm gonna do a whole animal sanctuary.
Yes, please do. And definitely bring them all on when we're doing book club. That's going to be the plan. 10 years from now,
Definitely.
we're going to be doing it. Absolutely. How about you, Melody? As far as Lily goes and everything that she went through, what's your feelings? And then with personally yourself.
Yeah, I kind of agree with everyone else. I'm sorry, I have a cough this evening. I think now that she knows, that a lot of that weight's been lifted, so she can make happy memories and go back to some of her own happy memories.
You're right. They weren't
As
all bad. All her
no,
memories
no, not at all.
weren't all bad. No, you're right about that.
And as for me, I'm not going anywhere. That house has a secret room, and that has been a lifelong dream for me to have a house with a secret room or a secret passage or a hidden staircase. Like, I read the shit out of Nancy Drew when I was little, and that was my jam.
Oh, I love Nancy Drew. I'm watching the show right now on Max. I'm obsessed with Nancy
Oh,
Drew.
I
I have
need to
all of
watch
her
it.
books. So yeah, I think that I would be fascinated with that place. But I don't know if I would have ever been able to have the courage to go and get the healing. I probably would still be under the covers with my bean, which I felt like was extremely dangerous to the baby. She made some bad mental, physical choices, but I do think I really like your point of view. There wasn't all bad. And she had a great childhood there until, her mom.
Everybody died.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. That's great. And Bean could too. How about you, Melissa?
I think for Lily, it's going to be kind of therapeutic for her to stay in the house and focus on those good memories, especially since the house has been kind of passed down for generations and it's got a lot of meaning behind it. But for me, I don't think I would. I think I would probably sell it. My parents live in the house that I grew up in, and sometimes it's hard for me to go there. My brother actually committed suicide when he was 17. So when I go to the house, sometimes I think about the memories of my brother and where he was. And I don't think I would keep the house. I think for me, it would be better to get rid of it and start fresh and not have to be there all the time.
Yes, it's so hard. I mean, everyone asks me, my therapist, my family, they're like, sell that house, it's something haunting you and everywhere you go. But yeah, that would be, I'm so sorry. We've all had too much experience with suicide in this group. My all my love and light to you have found a home among people who know what it's like.
Thank you.
How about you, Karen?
So I agree with a lot of what everybody is saying. I would have probably never gone either to the game because I would be too chicken to do it. Um, I for Lily, I agree with the healing part. I think that she is definitely has resolved some issues. I personally don't think I could be in a house that I saw people dead in. I really think that would freak me out. Um, I've never, I, my growing up, we never had one childhood home, so we moved a lot. So I don't have a lot of sentimental about a house necessarily. Um, but I know a couple years ago, my neighbor, my next door neighbor from the house my husband and I live in now, her husband died in the house, and she was like, I can't stay here. So
Yeah.
she ended up selling the house. Um, I think the trouble would be I don't think I could release seeing people dead in the house, even though she has some really good memories of that house. I personally don't think I could do it.
Right. My hope is for her that maybe she can make it something happy in her vision. It might come and go, instead of being in it all the time. How about you, Jameson, with Lily and what she experienced? And then you yourself. I have a gut feeling that I don't know if you would want to stay. I'm really curious.
I mean, I could understand Lily staying. It's like everybody else said, I think she kind of got some closure, and you do a lot of things for your kids that you might not necessarily do if it were just you. That a giant house is a better place to raise a little bean than your tiny studio apartment. I probably would have also stayed. I am a big proponent of whatever this dysfunction or bullshit trauma in the past stops with me. I am going to do the best that I can to not pass that on to my kids, to not be dysfunctional, to not harm them in whatever way I was harmed or previous generations were harmed. So I'm a big proponent of like, we're going to make this a happy space. We're going to fill this place with love and memories and make it a welcoming space for everybody.
I love that. I love hearing that. I really thought you were going to say, I'm washing my hands of all this bullshit. I really thought you were going to walk, but I didn't take into the account that you know, you have children, which is a way for you to see things differently than I can. And I really love your spin on it.
I wash my hands of a lot of bullshit that doesn't affect, like, this is not my bullshit. I'm out. I'm very good at that, but I'm more likely to own the bullshit that is going to get passed down or that is going to affect people that I love. So that bullshit, I'm like, nope, let's do this. We're gonna work this out.
I love that. I love that. I'm so glad that I got to ask this question and learn that part of you. I'm shocked and I'm happy. How about you, Emily? What would you do? And how do you feel about Lily?
That's a hard one on what I would do. So well, like I was saying in the chat and stuff, you know, the lingering negativity within that space would be a hard one, but you can replace that as well, you know, with enough determination and repeated positivity. So I think that might be where Lily is coming from. I don't know for me about staying in the house, whether or not I could. The problem wouldn't be that somebody died in the house. The problem wouldn't be that I saw a dead body in the house at all. My sister actually lives in the house that my grandmother passed away in. So I see her all the time, and seeing what I see on the daily basis, it would not be weird. What's weird is the traumatic and violent way in which she witnessed those deaths. So her mother, you know, her seeing the photos of her aunt and uncle, even knowing the truth, you know, her cousins, how they've all passed, how they've all been murdered. You know, those kinds of things would be what's hard. I don't blame her though at the same time, because she looks at it as, I'm going to end the generational trauma and all of that and start new and bring love and light and joy into the house, and she's going to do that with Isabel and Mrs. Castle.
Yeah.
So I think that I understand why she would stay, and I think that if I had her perspective in that moment, I probably would as well, but not, you know, not knowing. I don't know. I haven't.
Yeah.
I've seen dead people. I've watched people die, but I haven't like witnessed murder. Surprisingly, I'm sure with everything that all my fascination with, you know, all of those kinds of things in my writing, a lot of people would think I do, but I've not witnessed somebody murdered.
Yeah, me either. And as much as I am fascinated about reading about it and learning about it and things, I don't know if I could be in a house where I saw it happen. You know, it's very
Yeah.
interesting. I like your intellectual approach to it because that's where I was going as well. So I'm interested in Erin being a mom and more emotionally driven. But
Yeah,
you
that
also
was
like ghosts, so that's
yeah,
also part of it. So yeah, go ahead.
yeah. See, I'm so wishy-washy. I'm not good at like making decisions until I see everything like in black and white. So for me personally, I'd have to like weigh my options. I know that they already said, okay, like all of this trauma happened, all this bad stuff. And they did say they already have people interested in buying it. But then my mind would go to, well, buying it before Tom destroyed half the hotel with the sledgehammer and so many more people died. But then just like you said, it could also be some sort of paranormal attraction. So I'd have to look at it and figure out like what would be the best option for my unborn child, because I would do anything, you know, to give my child the best life. So I'd have to weigh my options. But for Lily, I think that she's going to stay because I feel like like everyone else has said, you know, she sort of got some closure on all of like the everything that was going on in her mind about like it's all my fault that my mom died, and now she knows like it's not really. Also, she has like these new positive connections forming with the house, like with Isabel. I feel like she's going to have a romantic connection with her. And Mrs. Castle, I feel like she's going to stick around and be like the grandmother,
Yeah,
you
'cause
know?
she was
So,
Liliana's lover. She would want
yes,
to be a part of the baby's life, right?
right. Yep. So
Yeah,
that's what I think is going to happen. I think Lily will stay, but for me, I don't know. I would have to actually break it down and see what would be the best thing to do.
for the baby. Oh, I love that. I love how everybody has a different look at it. And I'm so glad we got to talk about it because grief is such a funny thing. And it was so hard to hear really grieve so many people. My last question is this writing style, the narrative voice follows Lily exclusively. So we are told what she thinks and what she does, but not necessarily from her point of view. So you're reading in third person, present tense, but when you talk, so they're like Lily drives, Lily drinks, Lily sleeps. But when they talk about her past, they start to talk about it as like Lily's something different outside of her, like in a different way. And it causes detachment with you and the main character, which we all said, like this, she felt like an iffy narrator, like none of us felt the attachment. Do you like this writing style? Did it make this book more fun to read, or do you wish it was just directly from Lily's point of view and you missed out on that emotional connection? And we'll start with Aaron.
There we go. I don't know. I didn't mind it. I thought it was fine. I didn't honestly really pay too much attention to it. I just read it to read it. So I didn't mind it at all.
Oh, it's interesting. I know Emily has thoughts on this because she's a writer, and you're the one that brought it up to me because I was like, what's going on here? Why is it not from her point of view? You know what I mean? So I'd like to hear more of that. I don't know. I've not quite read a book like this before, so I'm just curious what everybody's thoughts are. Do you like this writing style? You liked it, Aaron, right? Like you were okay with it. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm still on the fence. I think I would have liked it more first person. But Emily, what's your thoughts as a writer?
Well, typically, most of my work lately has been first person, which allows me to have that connection with the reader because we are all truly unreliable narrators because we only see really our own point of view. And then I write a lot in third person. Um, so I like this style because I feel like it allows you to see some of that speculation on what other people are thinking, which
Mhm.
allows it to be misleading. You get a deeper connection with those red herrings, I think. You get led astray a little bit more. We all had doubts about whether or not Sarah was involved or whether or not Gray was involved or could Tom have been involved. Like all of that was, or Mrs. Castle. You start to wonder for a minute there, is Mrs. Castle has something to do with this? What's Isabel's real role here? All of those things I don't think would have been as effective
Right.
to kind of create that disbelief and that confusion for a reader if it was told in first person.
Yeah.
Because you would only be seeing what Lily suspects.
Yeah. That's
Yeah,
interesting.
so
I love that point of view.
for mystery, I think that it works best to do it in third.
When I read about a review, they said that, and on the Amazon review, it causes a menacing connection between you and the writer to like help you build suspicion. I just didn't know if everybody thought that was more convoluted. What are your thoughts, Jamison?
I think I mean, I don't mind it either. I think it worked for this book. I think it adds something to the like how maybe you don't remember your childhood as clearly as you think you do. And I think we were supposed to think she was an unreliable narrator. And I think that helped. But I mean, it was fine.
Okay, yeah. Did you have any that's I love how everybody's just like real cool about it. I don't know. It got to me the whole time. I wanted I wanted to know what she was really feeling. But you're right, it made this story really interesting, the back and forth. How about you, Karen?
I liked it. I read a lot of like mystery thriller books, so I there's a lot of books written in this third person.
Mhm.
Um, it is kind of weird when you read a first person narrative of this because you truly don't know what to believe on the person. Like I remember reading, I don't know if anybody's read the Fury by the same author who does The Silent Patient.
No,
Um, but it's definitely written by a very unreliable narrator. And so you're trying to figure out, is this person telling the truth or not? But in this story, I felt it was better in third person because like Emily said, like you know more about other people's points of view.
Yeah. So I think you pinpointed it. You said you read a lot of mysteries and stuff. I read a lot of autobiographies, and nonfiction, and that might be where the storytelling got a little lost for me. So I'm used to hearing it from first person. It's really interesting that that's like more your genre.
Mhm.
How about you, Melissa? Did it bother you? Did you even notice it, or did you like it?
It didn't bother me, and I'm kind of wondering if it was intentional because when we tell someone, our trauma or something that we're struggling with, I feel like a lot of people do tend to tell others things that they've been through in kind of a matter of fact historical way and not so much a feeling way, unless you're in therapy and then with your therapist, you're kind of digging through it. But with someone you're just having a conversation with, it's very like surface level.
Yeah, brilliant way of looking at it. Yes, that's very much reiterating what Emily was saying. Like, that's interesting. Didn't even think of it. How about you, Melody?
To be honest, I didn't even really notice the writing style. Like you pointed that out, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess that really was a thing. I did not even didn't phase me at all.
My wife didn't either, but it's in every book review for this. Like, if you go into Google and you look up the book review for the book, they do that to like find questions and things. It is mentioned so much that it was like, okay, well, it bothering me, and maybe it bothered other people, but I think it's really, she had no idea either. She was like, this is kind of like how all my books are written, but maybe they're not. And
Yeah.
so I think Karen really made me realize, oh, I don't really read this genre very much. I'm more into like, first person stories. It's interesting. Did you know this, Udi?
I don't think so. I read all kinds of different stuff, so I do all kinds of different point of views, but I didn't know it was like genre specific. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, and it does make mystery. It did make me feel, it's just there was so much, and it was just a lot, but I liked the way that it built the story. And I think you
Yeah,
do too. Yeah.
I do. I feel like if it was in her first person, that her emotions would have taken over the story for us instead of dealing with all the facts.
Yeah.
Because even though she seems like she is like well put together, I feel that she's more on the inside, kind of like broken down, like no, more fragile.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I feel like her emotions would overwhelm her. But she does, it seems like she does work through that process in order to get to what she needs to do. Because, she like the memories take over. And
Mhm.
so I think that we would get lost in the memories versus what the author wants us to
To do.
see.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Gosh. Okay, you guys always open my eyes. How about you, Robin? Did you notice?
Yeah, I actually was just talking about this the other day, so that's really interesting. I don't think that I like books that are written in first person. Like I tend to struggle with this like getting into them. And I think it has to do with like, so when you're sorry, he's really loud tonight. When you're like reading a book in third person, it's like someone's telling you a story.
Yeah.
Whereas I find it difficult to like put myself, I feel more like when I'm in a book, I'm like a fly on the wall. Whereas when you're trying to read a first person, you're like oh, it kind of like makes you put yourself into the story, and I don't always like that. Like I actually just started Akatar, and I'm like, and it's in first person, and I'm like, I read a lot of thrillers, a lot of mystery, and a lot of fantasy, and I'm like, why is this in first person? Like,
Okay. That's interesting. I have not read it yet. Aaron and I have discussed the Avatar. John, like we've talked about it and like maybe bringing it to book club and things like that. So I think that's interesting.
yes, I held off for a really long time, and
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm gonna have to like look browse over it. How about you, Stephanie? Did you notice it? Did it make it more difficult to understand the storyline?
So I like reading thrillers and mystery books. I like third person honestly because kind of what Robin was saying, it's like a story, but to me it kind of seems like it's a conversation. My brain kind of tends to go in the way that the author was leading it down.
Yeah.
So I started picturing it the way they started saying it before, I got their train of thought. So I liked it.
I think, yeah, I think I can definitely see where you guys are coming from. Tara, so everyone thinks that you would have a really good theory on, do you feel like this type of writing portrays trauma better than it would be versus like I read Wild by Cheryl Strayed and Eat, Pray, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert, they're like my favorite books. It's portrayed by them and they talk about their trauma. In this way, though, with this type of trauma, which is like murder and, you know, a lot of really tough stuff. Do you think it was better portrayed in the third person?
I honestly didn't even notice.
Oh,
But I also read a lot of thrillers and mystery books. And so I guess it's just like normal for me.
yeah.
But I do kind of think that if it had been written in first person, it may have been more emotional and more of like lost in what was going on versus let's just hear the story.
Yeah. Might have been too difficult to process. Yeah. I can see that. I can see that now. Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting. And you didn't even notice and so you like this style. This is like normal for you.
Yeah.
And Tiff, did you notice or did you have any thoughts?
I don't think that I don't think I like specifically noticed. I think the only thing that I really thought about when I was reading it was I was like, it just made me not trust really anything that I was reading.
Me either. Me either.
Yeah.
I couldn't trust her. I couldn't trust the dialogue, but I think maybe that was on purpose.
Yeah.
So to like heighten the experience. Well, we're out of time. We're all done. I did want to announce, I thought we had it over here. The Women Who Could The Women Could Fly by Megan Giddings will be our next book. Melissa won Best Attendance. You guys will vote on MVP and the comments from the YouTube video. We have two rookies. We have Karen and Tara. We have a lot to discuss about when we want to start the next book. I'm going to put that in Monday's poll. Okay, so you guys just vote 22nd, 29th, or the 5th, whatever feels good for you guys, and we'll go from there. Other than that, thank you guys all so much for being vulnerable and sharing about your grief and just helping the book be so much better for me. And I just love you all. If we don't meet until after the holidays, I hope everybody has a happy one. See you guys later. Bye.
Bye.